G'day, Stu here from UAVfutures, and today, well, there's been a lot of videos out there. This definitely isn't the first thing on it, but what I want to be talking about today is this very special piece of equipment right here. Now, this is the RUNCAM Split, and the reason this is so exciting is because this is an FPV camera that's also going to record at 1080p, 60 frames a second. Now, why is that exciting? Well, if you're like me, when you're flying around, you like to have a good FPV experience, but you also need to strap a GoPro to the top of your quad to get some of that juicy HD footage as well. So this is traditionally, here's pretty much a good example. You've got your FPV camera, and then in the top, that's where you stick your GoPro. But for this one could replace all that. So there's definitely some innovation, and I can't wait to see what the future holds. And this is definitely a really cool first revision. So what we're going to be doing, we're going to stick it on the bench, having a look at how it works, and then putting it into a build. And most importantly, going out, flying around, and showing you guys some FPV footage and talk about is there any latency. And then we'll also show you some recordings and what this thing actually looks like, because it definitely, I can see some pros and cons for people, why you might want this, and also some things to consider. Anyway, enough rambling, let's stick it on the bench and get started. Okie dokie, here it is on the bench, and let me tell you, Stuart, why are you so excited about an FPV camera? And let me tell you, honestly, the reason I'm excited about this is because this is a step in the right direction for our hobby. This is actually legit new tech that no one else has yet. No one else is really developing, that could enable us to totally rethink how we design FPV quadcopters. So traditionally, let me just get a frame off the wall. So traditionally, when we're flying around, you've got your FPV camera in the front, and then you've got your GoPro that you have to carry on the top, which is, has a whole bunch of limitations. Some good things as well, but it has a whole bunch of limitations. This thing is going to do away with that. You're going to have your FPV feed, and it's also going to record at like GoPro quality, or what I use anyway, some 1080p quality. You can put that in a build, and why is that so exciting? Well, because look, I've got a lot of builds that can't carry a GoPro. I want to get some of that juicy HD footage, and this thing is going to let me install it into those builds. Something like the Japalura, I could fly it around and I can still get that awesome HD footage as well as an FPV camera. It's going to save weight, and it's going to, in my opinion, change how a lot of manufacturers out there design their frames. They're going to design them specifically for this style of camera. Alrighty, so let's go over some of the basics of how this camera operates. So you got your FPV camera at the front. It takes 5 volts, super easy. What I do like is that, you do have a little option. I should also mention a little Wi-Fi module that you can adapt. So if you want to do some Wi-Fi to your quad, it just comes in the same sort of style that you can mount as your PDB. So it's going to be very easy. This thing's designed. I really like RUNCAM. I'm getting off track here, but I really like RUNCAM. How they design stuff, it really is for the FPV community. There's no other reason you would get this camera unless you owned a mini quad, so or a drone. So it bolts on just like this. You screw it down to your stack. You do need to think about how you're going to design, and is that going to be an extra piece of board that you need to put on there. But it simply screws on onto your stack, very stable. It's got a little inbuilt microphone in here, and there's the microphone, and then just right there, and you've got your little micro SD card. You slide your micro SD card in there, and you're ready to rock and roll. Now, one little thing I would like to add is, if there was some sort of silicone sleeve or something you could put over this where you could protect your SD card or stop it from popping out or anything like that, because the last thing I want to do is fly around, and we all know that we crash our mini quads, except for Trevor, because he's an amazing pilot, but we all crash our mini quads. Sorry, Trev. We all crash them, and the last thing you want to do is have an SD card pop out and go missing, because I know I've lost some in the past, and I know, look, definitely, if you've lost an SD card with some great footage, drop that down below. Let me know where that happened to you and how frustrating that is, because I wouldn't want that to happen with this. So maybe a little bit of tape or something over the card will do for now. But in the future, if there was like a second revision, I would definitely want a little door or a little sort of safety latch. Now, that's about all I can really say for the camera on the bench, because that part's not too exciting. But what I want to do now, the exciting part is, what is it like to fly around with, and probably the best part, what does the actual footage look like? So I'm going to put it on a quad that normally wouldn't be able to carry a GoPro. We'll have a look at how it goes in, and then most importantly, we'll take it out and fly it around. Anyway, so let's cut to what it looks like once I've actually installed it in a quad in 3, 2, 1 with the magic of editing. Alrighty, here it is in my Japalura, and was there any doubt what quad I was going to put it in? I desperately wanted to fit in here, and for a 3-inch quad, I think this thing, it's like an absolute match made in heaven. So you can see at the front, I did open up, and it did come with a nice little mount. So if you have something that's It takes a HS1177. RUNCAM are pretty smart over there, and they've made up the perfect mount so you can still screw in your split and it will fit any quad that fits a HS1177. Now, in terms of fitting it into this 3-inch quad, you can see, look how much space I had here. We literally have millimeter by millimeter. I don't think an extra millimeter wouldn't fit. I'll flash some pictures on the screen. This is probably the closest build I've ever done. Space is at an absolute premium, and I do wish now that the Japalura had some little bigger cuts up just a little bit to fit this in, but I just wanted to point out it can be done. So I can't wait to rip around with the RUNCAM Split, get some 1080p footage on my tiny little 3-inch, because I love this quad, and the only one of its biggest limitations is I just can't take it around everywhere and carry a GoPro. But now that problem's totally solved. Now, one point I also do want to point out, you got your little Bluetooth module right here. This is where it plugs in. It does fit quite nicely on this one, but most of the frames, you're not going to have easy access to plug it into the side. So that's something I do wish they would change if you wanted to use Bluetooth. But other than that, the only other poor part is this bit right here. This is your SD card, and it's not actually like a push in and out one, which would have been 1,000 times better if instead you've got this sort of loaded. It doesn't have a spring in there. You've got to unclip it, clip your SD card in, force it together. I'll link up, there's a review too to Bruce from RC Model Reviews. I'll link that up here. He goes through that part in detail, a little hinge system. That bit, to be honest, is a bit of a pain in the butt. I would much prefer I could just push it in and out. It would solve your problems, because at the moment, I'm not going to be able to get that SD card out there. I'm going to have to just like take it out and delete it on the USB. That this SD card is going to be staying in here for sure. But if you're out in the field and you're doing a big flying session, it would be nice if you could just simply push in a new card, change over very, very easily. Anyway, enough rambling, because that's what it actually looks like on the quad. I think it looks fantastic. It fits amazingly, not amazingly, but it was almost like it was designed to fit. It looks beautiful. That's why I love the Japalura as well. And now what we need to do, let's take it out and let's have a look at some of the DVR and also some of the nice juicy HD footage that we can get from the RUNCAM Split. So let's cut down to the field in 3, 2, 1. Alrighty, out here at this nice little spot, a bit of a good place to test the camera. Let's check out the Japalura with the RUNCAM Split, show you some DVR, and also some of that juicy HD footage. All right, let's do it. Okie dokie, so here we are with the, I guess, the DVR footage first up. And the one thing I did notice a difference between when I switched back and looked at the HD footage, you have a different sort of field of view, so you actually record more than you see in your FPV footage, which is great. Now, some people did talk about latency, and you know that was something that I really struggled with the Eagle 2, or no, with the Eagle 1 and from RUNCAM, and I didn't really notice any latency in this camera at all. So maybe if you're a really, really hardcore racer, you might find that you're getting a little bit more latency than usual, but I would say for 99% of pilots out there, you're not going to notice the latency. I thought the colors were fine, and I did like how you get that little recording icon in the top right-hand side so you can actually see what's going on. Now, big feature, and I don't know how close this is to release, but I just watched one of Joshua Bardwell's videos on the new beta flight version 3.2 that's coming out, and you might have the possibility to change some of your RUNCAM Split settings in the actual menu. So when you're actually flying around, you might be able to do some stuff with your radio through the OSD. I don't know how close that is, and I can't really confirm any of that. That was just sort of like something I saw in one of his videos. So that would be really cool, because at the moment it is a little bit of a pain to sort of get your card out or try to change some cards or some of the settings or anything like that. But as far as an FPV camera goes, I had no qualms with it whatsoever. Those two big purple bars on the outside, that's because it was in the Japalura. So I think the Japalura is the perfect size for it, actually, because you're going to be able to record a lot of stuff that you're not going to be able to record with some of your bigger ones. And you don't want to weigh something down like the Japalura. You don't want to weigh that down with a GoPro or anything like that. So the only downside I had was those two big camera protections on the outside. They did obstruct your view a little bit. So maybe look, in the future, hopefully some more frames are designed around this camera, because look, I think it's a fantastic step in the right direction. But let's check out some HD footage as well. So, is this thing really going to replace our GoPro? Now I'm going to show you I'm going to show you a few little bits of footage here, so try and get some different light scenarios. So this was sort of at the end of the day. This is the same part you saw me flying around for some of that DVR footage, and this is where you might have seen a clip I just did, like a sort of montage of all my flying. This is sort of what I ended on. So yeah, this is flying. The sun has just set. And I think it looks fantastic. Honestly, look, I record at 1080p 60 frames anyway on my GoPro, and if I can just put this on my quads, I'm gonna be so happy. I really hope that in the future this is the way the direction comes. So I think the recording's fine. What I'm going to do, I'm going to show you some other footage too, so maybe like racing around or some different events or, you know, those sorts of stuff, because as far as I can tell, you know, drop it down in the comments. You do get that wider field of view that you can see on there, so you can see, we can see more of the purple Japalura bars in the outside of the picture, but look, that has nothing really to do with the camera itself. That's just more of the design of the Armaton frame. But yeah, in terms of the Split, absolutely think it's an awesome little camera. So let's have a look at some other footage when we're flying it around as well. So this is a little bit later. I think this was like a week later or something like that, out at the UAVfutures test track. And what I really like now is I can actually record some of the races when I'm racing my friends. They're using their bigger 5-inches. I can rip it around with a little 3-inch and have some good fun. And you can fly around some places that normally you wouldn't really be taking your 5-inch racer. So I think this is really, really cool. A great step in the right direction. And it does, the best part, it doesn't weigh your quad down, because I've wanted to do so much HD recording with these little things, but I just don't have that option. So in terms of like, for a reviewer's perspective, I think putting this on like little 3-inch frames is going to be absolutely killer in terms of getting that footage out there. Now the footage, I guess that speaks for itself, because all my footage I upload to YouTube. So do you think this footage looks better or worse than my GoPro? What do you guys think? Because all the other ones, you know, it's all recorded with my GoPro. So do you think this looks any better? And a whole bunch of people, look, I'm sure they're going to say, oh, well, what about this sensor, or it's got this, or, you know, a whole bunch of reasons why this camera records better or doesn't record better. But to be honest, I don't think that really makes a difference, because at the end of the day, the only people who see your footage are usually the people who see it on YouTube. So once it's uploaded to YouTube, how does it look? And in terms of this, for me, seeing it upload at 1080p anyway, I think, you know, it looks pretty good. I'm sort of blown away with how cool this technology is going to be, you know, and I think it's a great step in the right direction for our hobby. Alrighty, so there it is. There's my review of the RUNCAM Split, and I think this is such a step in the right direction. It's not funny. One of the most innovative products we've had in the drone industry for quite some time. Now look, I love the sessions. I use it on most of my quads, you know, and all my 5-inches they need to carry a GoPro, and who doesn't love that juicy HD footage? But in this, you know, I can finally stick it on the Japalura. Previously when I've shown, well, stick it on some tiny 3-inch quads. Previously when I've wanted to show you some HD footage of something like this flying around, this just won't do it justice. The GoPro is too heavy on here. It's going to fly like garbage, or if I don't do it and I show you some of the DVR, you're not getting that nice, juicy HD footage that everybody wants to see. So honestly, I'm so happy with the RUNCAM Split. I think if you've only got 1 or 2 quads, you know, and it's not perfect, and we'll talk about those other parts as well. If you've only got 1 or 2 quads, I definitely recommend getting one of these. It's not too expensive when you consider what you're getting. You get an awesome FPV camera as well as a 1080p recorder. I think that's fantastic. If you have a whole fleet, look, it does have some limitations, because you're not going to want to put in a different RUNCAM Split into every single one of your quads. If you've got a lot of quads, it's definitely a lot cheaper just to get a GoPro or the, you know, RIP RUNCAM 3. But overall, I think this is an awesome piece of tech that I can't wait to see. You know, what are the next iterations going to be? What's the next thing that we're going to see? Because putting it in the stack like that is so useful. Now, there were some things I still would like to change. So the Wi-Fi module, you can put it in around the wrong way. I don't think that should be how it's done, you know. We want to make this as dummy-proof as possible, I guess. You know, I know you do need to take some responsibility, but I think just having it around so it could only go in one way would make a big difference. The other part, the SD card, the way it clips in there, and you definitely need some room. My SD card's not going to be coming out anytime soon, because I don't have the room to get in there and change it, especially on a tight little build like the Japalura. So I think the first thing RUNCAM needs to do in the next Split revisions is change it so the Bluetooth module is a little bit different, or you can't break it, or have a little board that just simply slides on top flat wires so it can be part of the stack. Definitely change the way the SD card goes in and out, and overall, I think they're definitely onto a winner, especially for the 3-inches. Like, this has absolutely brought back like a new love. I love the 3-inches. I was having a lot of fun with them, especially with their motors and all the advancements in tech. But, you know, not being able to carry a GoPro really sucks. But now I'm actually going to be making up a different kit. Like, I'm going to have this bag, and this is the original. If you haven't seen this was like the best bag ever for 15 bucks. I'll leave a link up here. The video is probably like a year old now. But a bag like this, I can simply throw in this bad boy, a little radio, a couple of batteries, and I can just keep that. I'm ready to rock and roll. If someone says, Stuart, do you want to go for a fly? Yep, no worries. I can just run and grab that bag and I'm out the door. Versus some of the bigger quads, we're going to need more batteries, a GoPro, and some other different things. I can't wait. Just have a tiny little pack, especially with something like the Japalura, the Evolution, and, you know, what do you need? A few batteries and some small... You could probably fit this thing in like a lunchbox and have everything ready to rock and roll. So, I can't wait to do that. I'm probably going to do that when I stop filming this video, make a special little pack up. I've been rambling for years, but hopefully you guys enjoyed that. I'll link it down below as well to the Japalura, which is an awesome frame, and if you haven't seen that, I'll put a link at the end of the video. And I'll also link the RUNCAM Split down below because I'm a really big fan. Look, it does have some limitations and we do need to do some little improvements, I think, in the next revisions, but so far, like, some of the best tech I think we've seen in this hobby, designed for FPV drone racing. That's what I really like. We haven't repurposed anything. The RUNCAM Split is definitely designed just for us drone pilots in mind. Anyway, it's all linked down below. Subscribe for more FPV related content, and as always, happy flying. Longest rambling at the end of my video ever. Alrighty, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. Definitely subscribe if you're new to the channel and check out these videos. And I'm also going to leave a little link here to my Patreon page because I've got some fantastic Patreon supporters and I like to give back to them as well. So if you want to join the UAVfutures family, there's things like bonus Velcro straps, little bundles of FPV goodies and things like that that also get sent out. Anyway, happy flying.